I do. Okay, so yeah, thank you so much everyone for coming. Really, really appreciate you giving up your time and spending this hour with us today. And I want to tell you a bit about how this came about, this She Owns It series. And basically, we're really, really passionate about supporting women in their careers across all sectors. So it's great that we've got obviously people from HSPG, which is where I work, but also people from loads of different workplaces as well today. And I think it just comes from the fact that, you know, we all deserve to be in the same rooms and we all deserve to be occupying the same levels of seniority and influencing the same decisions as the men. And we also deserve for our merit to be considered in equal measure. And sometimes we do have to actively drive that. So that is essentially one of the big reasons why we created this series. And before we properly get into it, just, you know, as I said before we started recording, really see this as your you time. You know, this is the time for you today. Put yourself on do not disturb, try not to be on emails, Teams, Slack, WhatsApp, whatever else is going on. And, you know, even if you want to like turn your camera off and go for a walk, feel free to do so as well. Just really use this as your undisturbed hour, focus on yourself, your personal growth, and hopefully you get a lot out of today. And I'm also going to really encourage questions at the end. So don't leave me hanging and feel free to put them in the chat when either as we go along or at the end as well. So a quick intro to me, so you can see a bit more of the behind the scenes of where this has come from if you don't know me already. So I'm the managing director of HSPG, and we are a social housing real estate company, and we cover all areas of social housing. So from the areas of supporting people across a wide spectrum of needs, from homelessness to those just wanting to get on the property ladder and kind of everything in between. And I am absolutely obsessed with people development and growth. So at HSPG, we have an absolutely amazing culture, and I have managed to turn an all-male senior leadership team with no kids between us into one with 3 excellent female leaders and 8, soon to be 9 kids between us. So just adding that extra bit of diversity. And I do think it really helps to have the female allies opening the doors from you, let's say from a senior leadership team perspective. But I also really want to help you to smash those ceilings, even if you feel like you are your only ally at present, maybe in your company. And just alongside HSPG, I have a podcast called Positively Selfish. I have 2 kids, a 3-year-old and a 5-month-old, a dog, a husband. I'm also launching a new app at the moment with a friend of mine who's a maternity nanny. And I'm also a qualified nutritionist, and I love working out, and I don't believe in multitasking. So there's a bit of a summary on me. And yeah, how this came about was last year when we had annual reviews, which we're actually in the annual review season again now. One of the men in our business, who is not here anymore, had a very average review. He had loads of areas to improve on, so it was very positive for moving forward, but acknowledged that the previous year had been quite poor in terms of performance. And at the end, he asked for a 25% pay rise and a bonus. And I was like, okay, fair enough. And it's not the point that he shouldn't have been asking, because obviously if you don't ask, you don't get, right? However, it really struck me and Poppy when we were speaking about it that a woman would probably never have done that. They would have walked out of the room, probably a bit ashamed, with the tail between their legs, questioning their entire career and potentially their entire existence. So we just thought, like, that's too much of a gap. Like, that's not, we don't want it to be like that. You know, we want the women to be just as bolshy as the man, and if they both get told no, then that's fine, but at least they've both asked. So we decided to launch this series to help women in all sectors, obviously not just ours, and really share some good, positive, empowering vibes together with some actual action points that you can then take away and put in place. So aside from this one today, which is obviously all about self-worth, we have got 5 other episodes. So the first one is going to be, well, maybe not necessarily in this order, but I'm going to tell you the topics. So pay, benefits, and asking for more money or responsibility. Then work-life balance and managing family, kids, and still having a thriving career. Then the power of networking and personal branding. Financial empowerment and wealth building. And then confidence in negotiation and assertive communication. So that's the series. And yeah, would love you to join them all, invite your friends, give us feedback, and just take as much value as you can from this. So before we properly dive in, I want you to just have a think of one word that represents your strength. So, a real powerful point of you, and feel free to type it into the chat. So just any word that you feel like really represents the best part of you. Understanding, love that. Drive, approachable, determination. Care. Oh, that for Katie. Okay. Aspirations. Any more for any more?
I think I'm struggling. Robin, we're struggling to. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hi, Rob. We're struggling to get online on the invite. So we're on Emma's telephone at the moment, huddled together in a.
Hi. Sorry about that. Poppy, would you maybe try and help Paula in the background? Thank you. We'll get you on, Paula. Inspirational, also love that. Thank you. Okay, so these words, imagine all these words kind of put together, like this is the power of this group. So I want you all to kind of take these on as we go into this next hour, and obviously into your week and your month, etc., and just think like this is what we can bring to the table. And Toby, token male ally, love it, thank you. Yeah, and really take this forward as this is who you've kind of got behind you, this is who you can be, and take this into situations that either the easy situations or maybe the more difficult situations, and we can really recognize the strength in ourselves and us as a group. So we're going to move into self-worth and self-esteem, and this is something that there's a big difference actually between self-worth and self-esteem, and I think that is also an important point to kind of recognize. So your self-worth is your deep internal sense of value as a person. It's unconditional. You are worthy just because. There's no if or when. It's just you are. Full stop, a fact, end of sentence. It doesn't depend on achievement. It doesn't depend on external validation or what someone else thinks or what someone else did. It literally is just your like solid foundation, and no matter what happens around you, your self-worth is what it is. So when you think of it like that, I think we can maybe understand a bit more where our self-worth is at, because it's not like, okay, well, my self-worth is good when I have a good day at work, but it's bad if I do something wrong. That's more about self-esteem. So self-esteem is how you feel about yourself based on achievements, or obviously not achievements, feedback from others, or comparison, which is obviously a whole thing, which is comparison is the thief of joy. And I definitely believe that. So self-esteem is conditional because it depends on what's happening in your environment. And it's like a thermometer, it kind of goes up and down. And for some of us, it's going way over here and then way over here. And for some of us, it's sort of going like this. So what I want to help you do is to really boost your self-worth, and your self-esteem is then less relevant to your self-worth, if that makes sense. So a person with high self-worth will believe I am valuable, full stop, the end. And I want you to have a think like, do I believe that? Or do I believe I am valuable to the business when, but I'm a hindrance when? And that's what we kind of want to get away from. So a person with high self-esteem feels good if, let's say, they win an award, or they get told that they had a good day, or that they did a good thing in work, for example. And then obviously on the lower side, if you've got low self-worth, then you're basically thinking, if I fail, then I'm not good enough. Fact. Like, not if I fail, well, it's okay because maybe I'm going to learn from it. It's like, no, my self-worth is low because failure equals I'm not good enough. And this can also be the case when you do something wrong, or when someone else points out something that you've done wrong. So again, I want you to have a think, like, has that ever happened to you in work, for example, where you've sort of questioned your whole worth and value based on this one thing or one event or one mistake? So if you think about that, I'm sure the answer is probably yes for most of us. Like most of us have probably messed up in work and been like, oh my God, ground swallow me up. This is just, I am terrible. And I include myself in that. So if you think about that compounding over a number of times in a day or a week or a month or a year or 10 years, you could really do, 3 things wrong a day, which is really not bad, but you could still be excellent at your job. But because you've let it get to you, you kind of get to the end of the week, 20 wrong things later, and you've just totally spiraled. So this is where I really want to help you to kind of lose connection to the wrong things and keep your self-worth intact. And women actually tend to seek external validation more than men, whether it is from colleagues or from superiors or from even your family or your partner or even your kids. But your self-worth, depending on other people's praise, if that's very delicate, because if someone else isn't in the mood to give you the praise that day, then how are you left? Like it's almost, they didn't even realize that they were in charge of your self-worth that day, but they were. So if you can regain that control back, then you're going to be in a much kind of sturdier position. And I think on this as well, making it so that your self-worth isn't conditional on other people's approval, like really shift that mindset. Like not everyone's going to like you, and that is okay. And your value remains the same either way. And your value also remains the same whether you are praised or whether you are criticized or given constructive feedback. Because if you think about it, let's say you make a mistake in your job and someone gives you feedback in a bit of a rubbish way, like they're not very good at giving you feedback. So they've given you feedback maybe in a way that offends you, or maybe in a way that doesn't really take the whole context into account. You almost want to kind of, their performance of giving you the feedback shouldn't affect how you feel about it. So I want you to be able to kind of take the feedback and the facts of the feedback, leave them with the fact that they've not delivered it very well, and for you to not let your self-esteem and or self-worth take a bit of a bashing, because it is then wasting your energy, because you can't change how they speak to you and how they perform. You can only change how you feel within yourself. So I want you to have a think about a time where something external, like let's say achieving something, not achieving something, being told that you've done something wrong, being told that you've done something right, has had a big impact on your self-worth. And it could even be on the positive. It could be, you got told that you did a really good job and your self-worth that day was just on a high. So really have a think and maybe write it down. Feel free to write it in the comments, but you don't have to. And that will help you to realize, actually, yeah, I am letting external events sort of dictate how I am feeling about myself. So really kind of take stock for yourself of that for a minute. And at HSPG, one of our core behaviours is decide, which involves failing forwards on a regular basis. And if you're not failing, you're probably not growing. So for me, let's say as a team member of HSPG, if I took failure so personally that it then damaged my self-worth, I'm not really able to actually live the core behaviors of the business, because they want me to fail. Like the business actually wants me to do things wrong so that I can then learn. And I wanted to give you another example of this from my earlier career. When I was doing a talk, so it was one of the first talks I did as a nutritionist for a big company, and I was really nervous and I was like really prepared and hoping that everything was going to go all perfectly, not like this where I started on mute and then got distracted by my own speaking. So anyway, started speaking and it was all going fine, and then I saw this guy in the front row on his phone and I was like, oh my God, I'm that boring. He's literally on the front row looking at me and sat on his phone. And then the guy next to him started being on his phone, and I'd spiraled in my head thinking everyone's just going to be sat on their phones, I may as well just leave, this is terrible. And then I walked a bit closer to them because I was kind of walking across the stage, and I realized they were both taking notes. And then I was like, oh my God, they're taking notes. I'm so valuable. This is great. What I'm saying is so useful to them. They're actually taking notes. So literally within the space of like 10 seconds, I'm thinking I've got no self-worth and then I've got really high self-worth. So that was a really good example of for me to be like, don't look at those people, just do what you're doing. You know that you're adding value here. You know that you're providing good information. stop getting distracted by whatever everyone else is doing and kind of move forwards. So I always think back to that as a good example, because again, it shifted so quickly, literally within the space of seconds. And, you know, maybe you have also got similar examples, whether it is in such a quick transformation from low to high, or just within the space of a day or a month. But again, like, if you can sort of shake yourself a bit and be like, hang on a minute, I am adding value here, full stop, the end. Like, that's what I really want you to be able to do. So some practical tips I want to move into as well. So firstly, I also want to just say why this event is for women and the Ally, because it's not just about, you know, you see so many posts about International Women's Day and Women's Month about empowering women and just say, let's empower women. But actually, statistically and driven by the data, women have more self-doubt, and particularly in professional settings, and that just is a fact. So I've got a few references here. So one of the analysis that was done by the American Psychological Association basically said that from looking at over 1 million participants, they found that men report 56% higher self-esteem than women, which is like absolutely mental. So that's a huge amount. Then another study that was done by Forbes in workplace confidence. So Forbes have shown from their study that women often underestimate their abilities and performance, whilst men tend to overestimate theirs. And that can also influence whether women apply for jobs or not. Because also, when you're looking at a job description, let's say, a woman will apply for a job if she has over 85% of the skills, and sometimes some women would only apply if they had 100% of the skills suggested on the job description, whereas men would apply if they had 40 to 60% of the skills. You know, they're thinking like, oh, it's fine, I'll just wing the rest, whereas the woman's thinking like, oh well, I can't apply for that because I've not done that one tiny weeny thing before, you know. So even from that perspective, men have a totally different approach mentally to, let's say, progression. And then another one is imposter syndrome. So we're going to get to this anyway, but imposter syndrome, more than 55% of young women report that they feel like they're not good at their job sometimes, at least once or twice a week, compared to 36% of men. And that's from the AmericanSurveyCenter.org. So yeah, like, this is why this event is for women, because I want to make sure that women can really see these stats and be like, I don't have to fall into that. There's no reason why I can't fall into the other side. And you don't have to, don't have to lean into it, but you can, when you actively know it, you can actively put things in place to change it. So I don't know if anyone has heard of, I hope I'm going to say her name properly, Ilona Maher, who is a rugby player. I think that's how you say her name. Anyway, she basically had an interview recently where she was asked about imposter syndrome, and somebody said to her, how do you deal with imposter syndrome? And she said, I don't have that. I don't know what that is. As if like, what the hell are you asking me this for? You wouldn't ask a man. And obviously you wouldn't ask a man. And she basically went on to say, it's okay to be proud of what you've done. It's okay to believe that you deserve something because you've put the work into it. And I don't sit here thinking I don't deserve to be here. That is essentially what imposter syndrome is. So how would it feel to adopt that mindset in your own life and just think, I don't even know what that is. Like, that is irrelevant to me. And to really embody her mindset, and I am allowed to be proud of what I've done and who I am, and my self-worth is not tied to external approval, whether I win, whether I lose, whether I've done everything right today, whether I've not, because I work hard and I've earned my position of where I am. So yeah, really, really think of how you could sort of channel her mindset when it comes to imposter syndrome, and basically just be like, that's not even a thing to me. And there's another really good quote that I will share with you from Adam Grant, who says, imposter syndrome is, I don't know what I'm doing, it's only a matter of time before everyone finds out. Whereas a growth mindset is, I don't know what I'm doing yet, it's only a matter of time before I figure it out. And both of those things can start from, I don't know what I'm doing yet. And actually, you know, there is an argument for, you should feel that probably in your job every, let's say, 1, 2, 3 years. You know, I'm in this, I've been promoted, I have no idea what I'm doing. Great, let's go. Not like, I've been promoted, I have no idea what I'm doing, and because this is a bad day, I shouldn't even be in this job. Lose that side of it and gain the side of like, okay, great, let's go, let's grow, kind of thing. So then the next thing as well, on top of that, is to not build your self-worth on productivity. And I think this is definitely something that I have been guilty of before, and I'm sure so many of you as well. But women, especially in male-dominated industries like property, like finance, you know, we often feel that we must constantly hustle and prove our value through overworking, over delivering, and saying yes to everything, and just basically being a yes woman. But true self-worth isn't actually about how much you do, it's about who you are, regardless of the output. So it's, I am valuable because of who I am. Again, full stop. Not but, not and, not when, not if. It's just, I am valuable because I am Robin. The end. And it's not about what I accomplish. And then the other thing to really note is to stop apologizing for taking up space. And I think that this is another thing, you know, we apologize a lot, like, oh, sorry, I'm late, sorry for the delay reply, sorry, sorry, do you mind if I just, sorry, have you just got 5 minutes? Lose the sorry. So we are often socialized to be agreeable or accommodating or, you know, non-confrontational, let's say, and that's more of a female thing as well. And that leads to kind of a softer language. And if you notice it as well, you know, notice on emails, let's say, that you're copied in on, it is quite a female thing to apologize a lot. So I would challenge you to, yes, banned just from my work vocabulary. I love that, Lexi. And that is another one, just is like, sorry, because, and also it's like, it's only me. Well, it's not only you, it's me. Like, how lucky are you that it's me? Or like, yeah, just, only, sorry, all these kind of softer words. I agree. Let's add that to the actions list. Ban the just. So I would say, not ban, replace sorry, can I just with I'd like to add. Not sorry, I'd like to add. I'm not apologizing for speaking or for taking up space here. I'd like to add. Replace, does that make sense? Because again, that's like, I'm really sorry, have I not explained it properly for you? Let me know if you have any questions. Is a more kind of, well, a less apologetic way of saying, does that make sense? Replace, I was just thinking, because it's like, I was just thinking, but I'm really sorry if this is wrong and you can shut me up, with I believe blah blah blah. And then replace sorry for the delay with thank you for your patience. And I do feel like sometimes, I personally really try and do that a lot, but sometimes I feel like it can come across a bit passive aggressive if you've taken ages to reply. So then I would just be, thank you so much for your patience, and then move on. You know, it's just, you don't have to apologize for anything, really. You don't have to apologize for being yourself. You don't have to apologize for taking up space. So really look at yourself and the language that you're using, and also call each other out. So I know we've obviously got quite a few people from the same business here, but we've got other people as well. So if you've got colleagues or friends that are on this call, you know, call each other out. If they say sorry, say, don't say sorry, rephrase. And you have to like train yourself to speak in a more kind of, in a more assertive way to help yourself, and a less apologetic way. And then the next thing that I want to move on to is a really big thing for me, and some people think this is like super woo-woo, so if you do, just like stay with me and humor me, because genuinely it's really, really powerful, is positive affirmations. So we often berate ourselves in all different ways, and you know, we do this at home, at work, in our heads, mainly in our heads, and it's like, I am X, and usually it's negative. So I'm so disorganized, I'm such an idiot, I'm so messy, I'm so behind, I'm so blah blah blah, like all these I am negative. So what I want you to do is have a think, and I would love for someone to write it in the chat if you feel comfortable to do so, and we can kind of work on it together. But what is one negative thing that you tell yourself that is I am something. And it can either be once it pops into your head, or it can be that you say it to yourself all the time. So give me something that is that sort of I am negative for you. Disorganized. I am not where I should be. Of that. I mean, I don't, but thank you. I am slow. Okay. I always overthink everything. Out of time, run out of time. I am late. Love these. I feel like I love these because I've had all of these as well. Not an I am, but I have bitten off more than I can chew. Messy, not as good as X. Yeah, I think that not doing enough. I think that as these come in, I bet so many other people are like, yeah, 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 yeah. Like that's me as well. So I want to tell you two of my sort of previous affirmations that have led me to this point, because I've been doing affirmations for maybe like 5 years. And when I say doing affirmations, I'm not like sat here with, a fire burning and my legs crossed. I literally wake up in the morning and I say 3 things in my head. Like, it's so quick. It's not long. It doesn't take a long time. At first, it probably feels really uncomfortable because you actually feel like you're lying to yourself. But one of them is maybe 3 years ago, I started saying to myself, I am HSPG's MD. And at first, I felt like a bit of an idiot for saying it because I was not HSPG's MD, but I was like, I'm going to be. So I need to say it now because I'm manifesting it. Like, that is happening. And yeah, I did feel like a bit of an idiot. I wouldn't have even said it out loud. And now I actually am. So it's not because I just said it a load of times that it then randomly happened. Obviously, you have to pair it with action, of course. But part of this is like, you actually need to convince yourself that you're able to do that thing. You need to convince yourself that you are allowed to be that thing, or that you give yourself permission to not be messy or late or as good as X or overthinking everything. So another thing that I want to tell you, which maybe you'll find funny / surprise that this is me. I have always been told that I am so messy, I'm so disorganized, I'm irresponsible. This is like my daddy issues. My dad's always told me I'm irresponsible, I don't think of the consequences, and I'm disorganized. And one day I was just like, no, I'm not. So I had to tell myself, because I've been told since I was maybe like 3 years old how disorganized I am. So the nail in the coffin for me was when I went on holiday a couple of years ago, and I actually managed to lose the trousers that I was wearing on the flight home. Like, don't even ask me how I did that. I was really prepared. I came from Vegas to Manchester, and I knew it was going to be boiling hot in Vegas and it was going to be freezing cold when I got to Manchester. So I had leggings on and I had trousers on top, and somewhere along the way I lost the trousers, and I was like, enough's enough. I am not disorganized. I don't lose everything. I need to add an affirmation in that there are so many questions we could ask. Yeah, I need to add an affirmation into my collection that prevents me from being like this. And this was only a couple of years ago. I'm not talking when I was like 15. So being very vulnerable with you all here. So I basically added into my collection of affirmations, I am organised, responsible, and take excellent care of all my belongings. And I've probably said that for the last 2 years. And I promise you, I haven't lost anything since then. And I think it's partly because, every day I'm telling myself I am really responsible, I take excellent care of everything. And that was the other thing as well. I was just like, how do you lose a pair of trousers? How have you taken such little care of your belongings? So it was like, I don't need this story to be me anymore, and also I probably shouldn't lose so many things. So what I want to help you do is reframe, and it's not going to happen overnight, but it will happen because you're actually convincing yourself that you are not this thing anymore. So I'm going to just pick one randomly, disorganized, because it was a bit similar to mine as well. So from Anna saying disorganized, you literally just need to flip it. And I would say, let's try and make it more than just I am organized, because A, your brain might not believe that just yet. And B, you almost want to add a bit of context. So, like with mine, I am organized, responsible, and take excellent care of my belongings. Could it be something like I am organized, I am on time, and something else that you feel like you need to improve on? I don't know what exactly that would be for you. And so what I would say as like an action point for this is make a note of the maybe just 2 things, I would say maximum 3 things that you feel like are just the bugbears that you have with yourself, and write them down as the negative first, then turn them into an affirmation. And a few things about an affirmation: it must be in the present tense, so it must be like I am, not I will be, because then if you say it every day, you'll still be saying I will be in 10 years, and when's will? So that's why it was like I am HSPGMD, like now. So whenever the now then happened, it is in the present tense, if that makes sense. It also must be I am. So actually, I'm going to go to the person that said it's not an I am but, because I want to help you turn it into an I am. Not an I am but I have bitten off more than I can chew. So is that an I am like saying yes to too many things? Or I am, let's say I need better boundaries. I know that's not an I am, but we'll get there. Could it be that? Could it be, let's say I need better boundaries, or I need to, yes to both? Okay, cool. So I am protective over my time and energy and have excellent boundaries. And you could hear that and be like, what a load of nonsense. I literally have no boundaries. I do everything for everyone, and that's okay. But you can work towards it and get there. And I would say, you know, if you start this, let's say now, and really it's literally writing the things on your phone or putting them on a post-it where you brush your teeth, because you're always going to see it, and just make it like really, really in your face. It really doesn't have to take any effort. You just have to write them down and have them in your periphery. So yeah, also must be positive. So it can't be I am not. You can't say I am not disorganized, because that, all your brain hears then is the word disorganized. So you have to flip it into a positive. That's another kind of criteria of your affirmation. And it also must be aspirational, but not so ridiculous that you have no way of even getting on that wavelength right now. So, you know, let's say you earn £50,000 a year. Don't have the affirmation to be like I earn £1 million a year, because your brain will just be like, we're watching a movie, like what are you talking about, this is nonsense. So yeah, like, and it can be that as well, you know, you can go wild with your affirmations, but don't worry, I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole now, because not everyone might be on that track. But we can do another call about affirmations if you wish. So yes, I've said all of that. Moving on. Okay, cool. So the action on that is write your negatives, flip them into a positive, make them aspirational, make them in the present tense, make them current, and change your life. Genuinely change your life in the easiest possible way. Okay, then the next point is about healthy boundaries, and actually setting those healthy boundaries for you. So I think that, again, unfortunately, women tend to lower their boundaries easier than men do. And what I will say is that having lower boundaries or no boundaries, because some people definitely just don't have any boundaries, and people pleasing can literally erode your self-worth, because you're then dependent on others, and you're also you lose all control of your own self-worth. It's totally up to somebody else. So setting boundaries is a super duper important part of your self-worth. And I think actually people also misunderstand what boundaries are. So boundaries, I'm going to go through what boundaries are and what boundaries are not, because a lot of people think that boundaries are essentially keeping people out, or being a bit of a, yeah, like passive aggressive, not great person, or being harsh. But actually they are to protect your time, your energy, your emotional well-being. And actually this is a massive one in parenting as well, because I'm not going to go down a whole whirlwind of parenting, because obviously I know that everyone isn't parents, but if you as a parent can set your healthy boundaries, obviously your kids are going to do whatever they want, and they're not going to act according to your boundaries. But that is where a boundary is a boundary, and it's not a request. So, you know, you're not saying to your child, let's say, please will you listen to me? That's not a boundary, because they'll just be like, no. They'll probably like slap you across the face if they're 3. Maybe if they're a bit older, that's a problem. But yeah, it's a boundary if you set what you want in your life, and no one else can actually impact that at all. So what a boundary is not is a wall to shut people out, or a way to control others, or it's not selfish. It's also not, and this is the most important part, in anyone else's control. So if you feel like it is, just know that that is not a boundary. It is a request. And I can't kind of labour that point enough. What a boundary is a clear guideline about what you will and won't accept. It's a way that you can communicate your needs, and it's actually an act of self-respect, and it's fully within your control. So really, that is the most important point. And what I want to use as a bit of an example here is, like, let's say people emailing you at 3 in the morning, or hopefully not, maybe 8 p.m, let's say. Like, that's on them. You can say, I'm not responding to emails after 5 p.m. That is your boundary, and no one can change that. But what you can't control is that you're going to get emails after 5 p.m. So you have to put stuff in place to make sure your boundary is actually possible. So in order to make your boundary possible, you need to turn your phone on do not disturb, or you need to take your email notifications off your phone past 5 p.m. Or if you really kind of obsessive about your emails, you need to like actually remove the app, let's say after 5 p.m. and it's only on your laptop and then it's closed off, or put your phone in another room or whatever. Basically doing something so that only you can control whether that is sort of adhered to. Other people emailing you, that's not the case, that they're not listening to your boundary, because that would then be a request. So if you're making a request, please can no one email me after 5 p.m. Okay, maybe you could do that in your workplace, but someone might forget, or they might just not realize, or there might be loads of new people and then they didn't know that that was your boundary. So then you might get a flurry of emails in at 5:01, and then you'd get all annoyed and say people aren't respecting your boundaries. But you get what I mean, that actually you weren't in control of your boundaries because you didn't put anything in place, i.e. turn your notifications off, etc. So in terms of why boundaries are really, really important for your self-worth, is because if you have weak boundaries, you might overextend yourself to please others, but then you're left kind of with an empty cup. That leaves you then feeling drained, a bit resentful, a bit burnt out, and it also lets other people kind of dictate and be in control of your time and energy rather than you. And I cannot stress that enough. Like, that, if you take one thing away from this call, take that away. Like, I am actually in control of my own self-worth, and I can put boundaries in place that I can control. And that's really empowering for you as well, because that's great. You might have gone from thinking, God, I have no control over anything, everyone's just like running me ragged through the workplace, and now actually you can think, no, I do have control because I'm an adult and I can put these things in place. So then when you have strong boundaries, you really show others that your needs matter, and you're almost like walking into a room, whether metaphorically or literally, with a confidence that other people, you sort of demand other people to like recognize your confidence as well. And that will, as I alluded to at the very start, it will help you to take the place in the room that you deserve to take. And also it protects your emotional and mental health. So that again is a really, really important part. And what I'm absolutely not saying here, by the way, is that, if you feel burnt out or exhausted or whatever, it's your own fault, because it's definitely not. But what I want you to take from it is, if I am feeling like that, is there any way that I could actually, like, from as of right now, this second, areas in my control, do something about this? Maybe the answer is yes, and also maybe the answer is no, like only you know. So I'm going to give you 3 tips on how to start setting your own boundaries. So the first one is identify actually, where do you need boundaries? I think we all need boundaries with our kids, so there's one I'll give you for free. But where do you feel maybe overwhelmed in your work, or taken for granted, or uncomfortable, or overstretched, or in areas that aren't actually your job and you're doing them anyway? Where do you need to set boundaries? And this is also another thing that I actually read on a LinkedIn post on International Women's Day that really struck a chord with me, that a lot of these kind of other jobs in businesses are just shoved to a woman. So, let's say organizing the Christmas party. Oh, well, she can do that. Like, if you're not a big company that, let's say, has an actual team that does this kind of stuff, or it's like, you know, get the coffee, or sort out the room, tidy up, you know, all these like other jobs, but actually they take time. So if they're not going to be mentioned in your annual review, and you're not going to be rewarded for them and given a pay rise for how well you're doing them and appreciated for how well you're doing them, why are you doing them? And like, set your boundaries, you know, almost like revert back. What's my job description here? What am I supposed to be doing in this business? And not to everyone to go and walk in and be like, right, I'm not doing any of this anymore. But it's like maybe a change of the story. And it's like, okay, my boundary here is that I am totally overworked and I am not doing this anymore. Here's a solution. We all do it. And, you know, share different solutions by protecting your own boundary. So yeah, point one, identify where you need boundaries. Point two is communicate that boundary clearly. So be very direct, but be kind, and don't be too kind of forceful with it. And again, make sure that your boundary is, I am doing or not doing XYZ. A boundary is not, you need to do this, because that's a request, remember. So I won't be checking emails after 6 p.m. I'm not available for last minute plans, let's say, if someone just throws meetings in your diary for 1 minute time, let's say. It's not because, it's not unless, it's not and, it's not but, it's full stop, the end. Like, I won't be checking emails after 6 p.m. FYI. That's it. And so that's how you communicate your boundary. And then enforce your boundary consistently. So if they email you tomorrow at 7 p.m, don't just think, oh right, okay, well this one's actually really important, because firstly, you should be in line with your boundary anyway and not be on your emails. But let's say you are, then you're being really confusing then, because it's like, oh well, I did reply to that one because it was really important, so then tomorrow I can just email her because she doesn't really mean it. So obviously that boundary thing was just like not a thing. So you need to be clear and sturdy in your own boundaries by consistently sticking to it. And if someone pushes back or suggests that it's not okay, you know, stand firm. Like, that's allowed. You're allowed to have boundaries, and people will forget. So again, I'm sort of laboring this point of, let's say, no emails after 6 p.m, but people will forget, and it's okay if they do it, but it's not okay if they expect you to change your boundary. So what I just want to ask you to do now is one more exercise / activity, and just write one area of your life. And again, you don't need to write it in the chat, but if you do want to, I would love to see it. That one area of your life where you need a stronger boundary, and maybe it's like one of the areas that's like your non-negotiable. So have a think, whether it is in work or whether it's maybe at home. And you know, when it comes to work things, obviously we don't all work together, so I know I can say all this stuff, but then maybe you need to like have an extra conversation with someone else, rather than just be like, that Robin told me that no emails after 6 p.m, so bye. You know, I don't know where you guys all work. So yeah, have a think about one area where you could set a stronger boundary, and I challenge you to put it in place this week. So identify it, put the boundary in place, communicate it, and then keep reinforcing it consistently. It's okay not to drink alcohol at social events. Absolutely love that and completely agree. And that sometimes is really difficult. So yeah, that maybe is your boundary. Like, I don't drink alcohol, full stop. And if people are like, oh, go on, don't be boring, it's like, no one can force it down your throat. They can all be annoying and say whatever they want to say, but yeah, your boundary is, no, I don't do that, and continue to do it. So yeah, thanks for sharing, Anna. Okay, so I am going to bring this to a close. One sec. I would stick with no reply to emails after leaving the office. 3 kids, no chance. 3 kids, no emails past the minute you leave the room, definitely. And yeah, that's the thing as well, like, you want to actually spend that time with your kids, because often when your kids are in childcare, you only see them for, let's say, an hour on the bookends of the day. You can't be doing emails at the same time. Give home the attention that you give to work. Yes, might be on my own with this one, working on days off. In my role, I run my own desk, so on days off, pass my work on to others can be hard to do when you love the control of your own work. Yeah, it's really hard when you love the control. And then what I would say to that as well is that almost see yourself delegating as empowering others and leading others and enabling them to learn as well. So you can almost think, actually, by delegating, I'm helping him or her to grow in their role. But by keeping everything to myself, then I'm actually not helping anybody else. So if you need to have that as the reason instead of your own boundaries and your own time, like use that as the reason, their development, and maybe that will also help you to delegate a bit more as well. Protect your weekends, no traveling on Friday after 3 p.m. Yeah, that's your boundary. Like, this is how I roll. There is no work on the weekend and there's no traveling after 3 p.m. on a Friday. Love that. So yeah, I wanted to ask if anybody has any questions. So if you do, obviously, please feel free to put it in the chat and I will answer. And whilst you're asking questions, if you have any, I'm just going to do a quick summary because I know I've said a lot. I actually asked ChatGPT how long this was going to take me. I told ChatGPT how many words my notes were and how long would it take me, and it was right. So go on, ChatGPT. So yeah, just a quick summary. I obviously started with the difference between self-worth and self-esteem, and I think that's a really good takeaway for you, because the self-worth point is like, this is my core, this is my solid factual tree trunk, this is my value, it's not being swayed by anything, this is what I believe I am. And then the self-esteem side is much more fluctuating based on other people's opinion, based on comparison, based on what random things happen that day. So really try and focus on building your self-worth. And then, like I said earlier, the self-esteem part becomes less relevant. Then practical strategies to building that self-worth. So renaming the negative self-talk. So renaming the I'm disorganized, I'm messy, I'm late, I'm not overworked. You're allowed to be overworked. That was in the boundaries bit. You get my point. I'm disorganized. Really reframing that, turning it into a positive, saying it to yourself, putting it on a post-it, putting it on the bathroom mirror, putting it in your makeup bag, you know, whatever it is, and really turning that into some positive affirmations that then that's the thing that your mind starts to believe. Then set your boundaries. So again, assess where in your life you need to put the boundaries in place, then put them in place, and then reinforce them consistently and kind of honor yourself on those boundaries that you've set. Then really own your worth and own your success. So don't apologize, don't say it's just me, don't attribute your self-worth or achievements to kind of, oh, that was lucky, or like, oh, that was good timing. Like, no, you worked for it. You don't need to apologize for taking up the space. You deserve it and you are worthy. So really believe that and make yourself believe it if you don't believe it now. And especially if you're at the point where, you know, God, this makes me cringe, like I don't want to say I am worthy, then challenge yourself on why, and maybe start to say it a little bit more to yourself and to others as well. So yeah, that is everything. Thank you so much for being here and for joining us on stage 1 of She Owns It. And we will basically be posting on LinkedIn each time we are releasing a new episode. I say episode, a new episode, fine, let's just go with that. And we will also tell you what the topic is. We're having guest speakers, we've got some really cool ladies lined up, and also if you are in the Eventbrite, we will email you anyway with the next one. And yeah, really just hope that you took value from that. Tell your friends, give us feedback, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Robin. That was absolutely fantastic.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Yeah. We took a lot from that, a hell of a lot. Really empowering.
Oh, good. I'm so glad. I'm really, really glad. Very nice to see you, Paula. Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
Did we wait? Hang on a minute. Can we stop the recording? I'm not in control of the recording anymore. Oh, Anyway, I'm going to close the meeting because then I think that stops the recording. But thank you so much again, everyone.